by the Smiths?
This Charmless Man. Charming Man?
Blur, wasn't it?
Was it?
Charming Man was Blur.
What's the song by the Smiths then?
Is it Charmless Man? Charmless Boy.
Is it?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to check that. If it's correct, leave it in. But yeah, so great video games though. Those Smiths made.
Well, actually, there was a Frankie Goes to Hollywood video game that was one of the best on the Commodore 64. Apparently.
Wow.
I can't remember what it's called.
There can't be that many games which are
Based on Frankie Goes to Hollywood?
that and or any band really. I can't really think of too many.
Yeah, you got Crewball, Motley Crue, Revolution X, Aerosmith. Yeah, there's not many. None that leap to mind anyway.
Not quite the same thing, but Screaming Mad George.
Psycho Pinball Kit, sorry.
Screaming Mad George, speaking of pinball and tie-ins, Screaming Mad George, who did the Japanese makeup artist who did the makeup for Society.
Ah, yes.
He designed a video game. I don't know how much input he had in it, but it was called. What was it called?
It's going to be.
It was a first-person pinball game where you're going around this weird. It's just like all these weird, surreal monster designs and stuff like that, and you're pinging this ball of light back at things. Actually, looked pretty cool.
That reminded me then when you said a first-person pinball game. It reminds me of Dick Vitale's Awesome Baby College Hoops on the Genesis, which is a first-person basketball game, full 3D on the Mega Drive.
Ooh,
that's right.
The ball must have been square.
It wasn't quite 60 FPS. I think it peaked at like 58. But yeah, it was just and he keeps on saying like "Awesome baby, awesome baby" in the background. I think that was like his catchphrase. My knowledge of US college basketball isn't what it used to be.
No.
So this is episode 8 of State of Play, and I, as usual, because I put most of the back work in, I've back work. They're connected, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've got a few more reviews than you. So Heave Ho, Decay of Logos, Million to One Hero, Hotline Miami Collection, Ittle Dew. But I thought it was Little Dew, but it's Ittle Dew.
You see, well, I knew it was Ittle Dew, but I'd never even made that connection because I've never said it out loud. Ittle Dew.
Yeah.
I
think when I got sent the game, it said Little Dew, and then when it booted up, I was like, It'll do. Oh, right. So that's
right. Yeah, did not get that.
And a bit of an old one. I say an old one. Some of the stuff we talk about. Torment, Tides of Numenera, which I picked up recently. It was one of those games I really wanted.
Yeah.
And then because I played Planescape Torment, and recently, within the last 5-6 years. But I could feel the clunkiness, the age of it coming through, and I was like, oh baby. So I was like, do I play this? And then I thought, I'll wait for Tides of Numenera and then play that, and then if I want, I'll come back to this.
Yeah.
And then I forgot about it.
Beat 'em up, yeah?
No. First person pinball game.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
The next best thing.
I didn't. I forgot about it, totally forgot about it, and then I saw it the other day for a tenner for the PS4. And Rupert is going to talk about Astral Chain, and he's got in brackets lots to say about this, which excites me, because I've seen them
more because I've only played 2 games really since the last episode.
And Aggelos leading to which the weekly discussion, which is the Metroidvania genre, how it can be brilliant and how it can be infuriating. As a leading statement, I think that you've got something to say there. But so yeah, I'll kick off. And Heave Ho. Have you heard about Heave Ho?
I understand that it's a co-op game.
It's a co-op party game. By Le Cartel, who the last thing we played they did. I think the last thing they did actually was Mother Russia Bleeds,
which is a very good game.
It's really, really good.
This looks quite different to that.
It's very different. What they've done is they've moved from like a really guttural, visceral sort of 3-player side-scrolling 16-bit pixel art beat 'em up, like based on sort of drugs, sex, and violence, and moved across to a sort of physics-based 4-player party game.
It's a natural progression, I feel.
Knockabout comedy. And it's really good because it's a physics-based party game, so you're essentially a face with arms with boxing gloves on, almost like Dizzy, really. Now that I say that out loud, any reference to Dizzy is good. And it's sort of like you grab and with inertia kind of pull yourself along, and you've got to get through these single-screen puzzles. Actually, I say single-screen, some are sort of... they do move across, but mainly it's just getting from A to B. And it's one of those games where the more players, the better it is, because it just gets more cumbersome. And there are ways, oh, you could go around this long way, or I could swing you, and you can try and grab it, and you end up just saying stupid things to each other, like, quick, grab my face!
Yeah.
So I was playing that, really enjoyed it. I want to play that with 4 people. I played it with 2. But both people I played it with laughed so much they had a coughing fit. Because all of the buttons on the you've only got 2 buttons. It's like move and grab with left and right hand, and that's where the fun comes from. Is like which hand's grabbing what, so you let go and then you just fall. And
I'm going to be disappointed if I don't have an asthma attack now.
Yeah, it's quite troublesome because you haven't got asthma. So.
Yeah, that would be awkward, wouldn't it?
So yeah, I was playing it, and all the sort of fascia buttons, they just make these weird like sad groans. So you press them and it's like, it's just really, it's never not funny.
It doesn't mean anything. I love it.
And you have like odd things, like a llama will come across the screen and fart, and the gas will cover the screen so you can't see what you're doing. And if you imagine having 2 hands, right, to circumnavigate something, and in one of those hands that you can't let go of, you're holding like a golden coin that gives you a bonus when you get to the end of the level, that adds difficulty. So
sounds amazing.
It's really, really good
like
fun.
a sensible software game or something.
Yeah, just like,
doesn't it sound like WizKid or something?
Yeah, just
That's
something like bonkers.
Yeah.
But what's good about it is there's a lot of, we've talked about this before with physics-based games where, like Surgeon Simulator and stuff, where it's fun for like 5 minutes and you're like, haha, and then the initial joke wears off and you're like, okay, the controls are the enemy here, and like now that joke's gone, there's not much here.
Yeah.
But this is actually good fun.
Oh, right,
so it's actually like, and I've only played the first few levels over and over again with 2 or 3 different people, and I didn't care. But there seems to be a lot there, and a lot of cool mini games as well. So that's a really good party. Probably if you were playing it by yourself, it would be a bit tedious, but still funny. But definitely going to be a go-to party game that we will obviously play. Decay of Logos.
Oh my goodness! What is falling off
Obviously,
the
it's wanted. This is going straight on YouTube.
College football's national championship 2 fell over. Jesus.
Yeah, is that sealed, Rupert?
Yes, it's sealed.
Hashtag. It's Kiss from a Rose. Decay of Logos, which... Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, I think you've described this to me before.
It
looked like Breath of the Wild, that was it.
It looks like Breath of the Wild, but is it really a Dark Souls game?
I haven't quite heard as much about it as Breath of the Wild, so I'm guessing it's not.
It's a good game for a specific type of person, a person who likes Dark Souls. So the game is...
who is not you.
A person who is not you either.
Yeah.
So you start off, and to cut to the chase of it, it's kind of a cel-shaded, looks like Breath of the Wild. Obviously not quite as smooth because it's a much smaller studio, but... So you're going along and you've got the combat's cumbersome in a purposefully designed way, if you know what I mean. It's quite slow and heavy duty. And a lot of it is based on stamina bar, a certain amount of climbing. But unlike Breath of the Wild, where, you see something and you can get there, this it gives the illusion of that, but it's actually quite linear. Sort of like small sort of little ravines you go through and up a slope, and then it'll open out into an area and then into the next one. And I was quite enjoying it. And then I realised that whenever you saved or died, all of the enemies respawned, and it completely killed the game for me, because I felt like... because it's quite difficult. It's the same problem I've got with Dark Souls. It's difficult. So when you kill something and you get like a cool item, you're like, right, this is awesome. But then you take one hit and it takes 2/3 of your health off. You save, everything's respawned. I just feel like I'm having no impact in the game world. So my interest dipped fast after I discovered that about 3 or 4 hours in. And I just couldn't get it back up again to kind of move on. If you like Dark Souls, you'll like it, but for me it was just, when the enemies respawned, it was dead in the water to me, really.
Lords of the Fallen, that's the game I was trying to remember.
Oh, with a Viking-y sort of... And you like Vikings as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, because that's a beautiful...
It's no Battle for Asgard.
It's a gorgeous game, and it's got that kind of clunky combat thing, but yeah, you got the kind of bonfire thing like you do in Dark Souls, but of course everything... They're slightly off the beaten track. So you go and save, and you feel safe for a minute, but then obviously you try and get back, or you die and you end up there because everything's respawned between you and that place. So
you go there because you're low in health, and then you have to fight your way back, and you just get there with the same amount of health, really.
Basically, yeah.
Well, this is the 2 things I noticed about this game as well. The Decay of Logos was one of them was sometimes when you save, that you'll just get attacked in the middle of the night. So, and your vision is not, you've got this little fire and you can't see anything, but you always get attacked by like 3 or 4 people, or like these tree men that were attacking me. And one-on-one is bad enough, but I thought, I'll just run off. But it locks you to an area when you're saving, so I just just got killed. And I couldn't see a way to get past that without, again, using all of my items to kind of scrabble through, but then I'd be at a worse state than I was before I saved. So it just felt like the whole game was just weighted against me as a player.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really against you.
And also, when
Punishing, if you like.
when any enemy sees you, I got killed by an onion. An onion with teeth came out the ground and killed me in one hit.
Did you weep to death?
I was weeping in real life as I played it. But when an enemy sees you and you peg it, it never stops chasing you. Like, I ran for about 5 minutes, real world, and I was doing like a later puzzle, and I turned around and there were like 4 enemies at the bottom of the ladder, and I thought, my god, I haven't seen you for like 5 minutes. You've always just been chasing me. So you can't get away from anything.
So you were completely oblivious to the fact that you were just being pursued by the entire game world.
Oblivious to the Pursuer. Brilliant album.
Excellent. Excellent prog rock.
It's a Swedish, I believe, 1976. So, yeah, I hesitate to call it a bad game, because there are people who would, as I said in the review, they would be reading what I'd written and just think, pussy, and then get in there and say 10 out of 10, amazing. And that's fine, but not for me. Not ever for me.
No.
But the thing is, if they took out the respawn enemies, 8, 9 out of 10, because it's fine. I don't mind it.
Is the combat itself good then?
Whenever I saw anyone, before I realised they respawned, and like they were coming towards me, I was like, right, okay, so I'm going to time and then hit, and it was kind of quite technical, and I like that. It's all like melee based.
Because you're thinking, right, okay, if I can get through this, then I've overcome something, it's gone, done, I've defeated it, until I save. And then all that work is completely undone.
Yeah, and that's what... But then, of course, the moment that I realised that when I saved, like you say, it came straight back, it took almost all of the threat out of it, because I thought it was just going to be... I may as well just run past you, because...
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I'll run past you, and then you'll just follow me for the rest of the game.
Until I find a ladder. Pay attention, a ladder that no one else can scale. A Million to One Hero is effectively... it's really good, by the way, but it's effectively an indie Mario Maker.
Right. With
like a Greek theme, an ancient Greek theme. It's really funny. It's got...
that is a niche in the market.
But it's kind of... What I liked about it was it's very much like Mario Maker, and it was really... it was on PC, this. Really accessible. And like, whenever I come to any game, you're like building your own thing or designing your own levels, I always struggle because I'm not creative in that way.
Okay.
But I could pick it up really quickly, and you can... One thing that differentiates it from Mario Maker, I'm not sure about Mario Maker 2 because I haven't played that yet, but you can add stories. You can actually like type in text. So in these levels, you can create like a level or like an overworld and have different things.
Yeah.
You can put loads of different enemies and pitfalls and stuff in. Cool. But then and the control is really nice and tight. It's a typical double dash and that sort of thing, swiping like 2-button combat. And it's quite small pixels, almost Benefactory. So you can have like really nice big levels.
Benefactory, bloody hell! That's that's an adjective I never thought I'd hear.
All these modern references.
An obscure platform game from like 1993.
Is this Psygnosis?
Yes. I'm going to say Psygnosis. I think it was an A1200 exclusive.
That's really Benefactory. Ah, yes, Benefactory.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm one of the 0.1% of the population.
So it's really nice pixel-defined graphics, and like the levels are fun to design and work through, and you can save them, upload them, and share them and stuff. But the ability to kind of meet characters and talk to them and add your own text, cool. So you can actually create like a story, so it's not just level and level.
Zelda Maker, but Zelda 2. Because
Zelda 2, yeah. Oh yeah, it's a 2D platform game as well.
Yeah, so no, like obviously in Mario Maker, you well, no one ever talks to each other, do they? But I know in Mario Maker 2, you can link your levels together to create worlds, sort of thing. But
so really, this is ahead of the curve.
Way ahead.
To be honest, I really like it, and I preferred it to Mario Maker because
you make your own stories?
Yeah, because it does give that little bit of immersion, and like, I haven't played it too much since reviewing it and playing it, but it's the thought that like you can play someone else's levels and they'd have funny stories or like sort of maybe darker stories, and you work your way through. Just adds a little bit more depth to it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
So it's a really, really neat little game, and it seems to have picked up a nice following as well. So Million to One Hero. If you like Mario Maker, boom. Hotline Miami Collection is good. The thing is, with Hotline Miami, I had this on the Switch. I really liked Hotline Miami. As I got to the end of it, and I finished it, I thought, that was really good. I'm done with that.
Yes.
And then I didn't get the second one because I
You're
thought,
done with it.
I'm done with it. So now I got this collection, and I played a few first levels of the first one,
Yeah.
and I thought, yeah, this is cool. This is exactly how I remember it. Really cool game, really neat, like tight design. And then I put the second one on, and I thought, yeah, I'm done with this. Like, one game was enough.
So the first one, because I've only played the first one, but
It runs
it's
really
essentially
well,
like top-down pixel art, and the game is that you burst into rooms effectively
And take out as many
and take
people.
out as many people as possible. You can die instantly. But
Yeah, one
if you
it's
plan
really
it,
snappy.
if you plan it really well, then you can like burst in, shoot one person.
You can Ellen burst in, yeah.
Wow. Throw like a chair or whatever at someone else, and then
Shoot everyone with a shotgun, then
Yeah.
chuck the empty shotgun at another bloke, and then
Yeah.
stamp him to death while he's stunned. And that's cool. But in the second one, there's two things that were a bit weird. One of them was the AI seems a bit patchy. So like sometimes I'd go into a level and there'd be someone like fumbling around near a door,
it's weird.
and you think that never
Is it
happened.
the same? Does it look
Yeah,
the same?
totally. It's very similar. The only difference I noticed with the second one is that it's almost like a bigger isn't better thing, where the levels are slightly more zoomed out sometimes. So, whereas in the first one you go in and you can kind of snappily make your way through some rooms. I found out in this one, you fire a gun, everyone surges, and
Whoa.
it's from it kind of takes out. It makes it more frantic, but it takes out a little bit of the more technical aspect of it, where
Yeah.
you can working your way through. And it felt a bit. I think they had such a tight formula. It's almost like, well, what more can you do?
Yeah.
So they made it bigger, and it
Not
didn't
bad.
grab me as much. And like I said, there was a tiny bit of patchy AI that was a bit odd, where people just get stuck indoors and stuff, and you think it shouldn't really be happening in a game.
On a day like this, you get outside, shouldn't
Yeah.
it? I'm so sorry.
So Ittle Dew is really, really good.
It'll do, I suppose.
It's short. It's only a few hours long, but it's really funny, and it's sort of you get washed up on this island with a stick. Right? What have you played? Yeah, we're on this sort of floating sidekick that's quite sarcastic, and as you're working your way through the game, it's sort of a tile-based action puzzler.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those games where the enemies exist as like colour. If you know what I mean?
Okay.
You kill them, pick up a bit of health or whatever, but they're not a challenge. They're just kind of there to break up the puzzles.
Right. Okay.
And you get 4 weapons in the game that do certain things, like they'll freeze something or they'll set something on fire or whatever, and you use those to get your way through. Like you walk in a room and it's like, okay, you got to light 3 braziers, but there's something in the way over there. Don't know why there's a Nirvana song there. And then you think, okay, I know. And there's in every puzzle room there's a notice board, and when you read the signpost, it gives you a tip, which is amazing because it just makes the whole thing really nice and fluid.
Right.
And you can, if you wander the overworld map before you go into these certain dungeons, there are sort of side things you can do which are much more challenging, and they'll just give you like an extra collectible card.
Yeah.
But because the puzzles are so fun and well designed, you want to do them anyway.
Yeah.
So I played it 2.5 hours, 3 hours done. There's a sequel coming out which I fully intend to play, and it was really nice. I was in bed, handheld Switch, just put it on, smashed my way through it, done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Did not stay its welcome. Really tight puzzles. Boom. So that's good.
That sounds good.
It'll do, yeah.
You sound like you like it a bit more than that.
It'll really do. And yeah, the last one I've got here, which is not a new one to review, but Torment: Tides of Numenera. So obviously I mentioned at the start, Planescape Torment. I got into that a bit late, and I'll have to be in the mood for that kind of thing to go back.
So is this an isometric RPG?
This is an isometric RPG with a real focus on talking and of wherever you can just go hurtling into battles, but avoiding conflict. I've played the game now for about 11 or 12 hours, and I've had 4 battles.
It's got voice acting with British regional dialects.
What, were if you're Welsh, you're poor or a witch?
Yeah.
No. yeah. It's the voice acting is weird because it's not fully voice acted, which is fine. If it was just text based, that would be fine. But the voice acting is patchy. So
Yeah.
whereas the actual quality of it is good,
Yeah.
you'll meet someone and they'll talk for a couple of lines, and then the rest will be text.
Oh, that's weird.
And I thought, is that to introduce their voice as part of their character, so I know what they sound like. And
They
then,
just read a bit of what is on the screen.
yeah, when you meet people. But what I found is sometimes they won't speak, and then they'll just say a couple of lines, and then they'll go back to text again, and that's weird because that makes it seem like the voice acting wasn't completed because they ran out of money.
It's possible.
And it does feel like that because it'll just kind of dip in and out, and it's like, okay, either have it or not. This is really off-putting when you're reading text, and then all of a sudden, I think you should. Oh, okay, he's talking. Oh no, he's finished talking. Okay, that's it. So it's really text-heavy. Like I said, I've had 4 or 5 battles in about 10 hours because I've managed to kind of circumvent fighting by helping people out and doing different things, and it's really good, and I'm really into it. But there are certain bugs that made me pinch the bridge of my nose until my bones turned to dust. One of them is, it's not really a bug, but the loading times. Like, because each area is relatively small, say there's like 10 or 12 screens in each section of the game if you move on to the next one, you know, and it sort of says if you move on from here you can't go back. So, and you've got all these side quests, all the characters are really well written, it's really full of tasty lore, and I was really ready to play that kind of game.
Yeah.
But then it's like someone says, oh, you've got to go to, you know, the Sagas Cliffs, and you're like, oh, it's only 2 screens away. But that's 4 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's 4 minutes of me looking at loading screens.
That's the equivalent of like Monkey Island, where the guy spits across the room and it cuts to a close-up of the spit flying through the air, and you have to swap discs to load the image of the spit flying through the air, and then when it cuts back to the room again you have to swap discs back again in order to get back to the room.
Is that the best loading sequence in a game, I wonder?
It's like, just don't bother with it, just have the spit fly across the room here. We don't need a close-up of it.
Yeah, even like that would be a funny visual gag if you didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
looking
it's just,
back is funny, but
resenting a visual gag.
Resenting the Phlegm, a great metal album. So,
yeah, it makes it. It was the same problem with
Willy Beamish.
Willy Beamish as well. I think it's something a little bit more recent. What is that like adventure
Teen
game?
Agent.
Oh, Operation Stealth. That's what I'm thinking of.
Sorry.
I can't remember the name of it. That's the problem. It's sort of isometric adventure game with a bunch of kids wandering around.
Earthbound.
No, like quite recent.
Oh God, it was on the Switch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a really 80s.
It's not Crossing Souls. It's the other one. Anyway, in that it was one of those games where it took so long to load between the different screens. Is that it made me play the game differently, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't. It
You had
didn't
to
feel
take
like,
it into account.
Yeah. So like, although I knew I had to move on, like I wanted to absolutely make sure I hadn't missed anything within this screen. Because I knew as soon as I went off it,
It would be like
a solid minutes until it could just
Yeah.
load the next stupid screen.
And it was a stupid screen. It did affect the game for me because it just. I mean, say the game is 15 to 20 hours long. I would wager 3 hours of that in total would be looking at loading screens.
Yeah.
And the other thing was and this is a massive problem for me because it's one of the reasons that I stopped playing Divinity Original Sin 2, whatever it was. One of the many reasons was there was a glitch. I was in a quest, and there was like floating orbs that had been they were like viruses that I had to take out in this sunken city thing. So I went in there and I towards the end of the battle killed them all, and then the battle didn't end because there's obviously like a sort of adventure mode and a battle mode that kicks in, and I just couldn't. And so I left the place and walked back to the city, and it still wouldn't come out of this battle mode. So I had to reload the save game. Did the fight again, and the same thing. I did it a different way where I didn't fight anyone. I actually just took out the main construct and got rid of the virus that way, and
Wow.
it still glitched out, and I couldn't proceed. So I had to skip that entire quest, which obviously, now that I'm 12 hours into like a 20, 30 hour game, I think, is that going to happen again? Because that might just stop me and just think, I can't be bothered for this if it's just going to come to a grinding halt. Is that going to happen in the main quest at some point? So it feels a bit... And every time anything like this happened, every time I was sat there, because it was one of the... I think it was that it raised $4 million. It was like the highest funded Kickstarter RPG of all time up to the point of release. Every time I looked at a loading screen, every time it glitched out, every time some text waved in and out, I mumbled to myself, oh, that's £4 million well spent, isn't it? And I must have said that about 40 times. Oh, I can see where the money went. Yeah. So it's good, but it's a little bit of it feels a little bit patched together.
Yeah.
And especially because it's now 2 years on from release and has been patched. That's it. That's the final product. Lengthy loading times, patchy voice work, and dodgy bugged quests.
But quite well written.
Yeah, the game is great.
What are the graphics like? Because sometimes you go back to, like, obviously the old school type Baldur's Gate type thing. Like, you go back to them, and they're obviously very blocky, low res sort of thing. Have they gone back and kind of, I mean, have they done it in that style, or is it quite high?
No, it's quite high res.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Yeah, the graphics are really tasty. I always find, because isometric, you can zoom in and out, and when you zoom in, you can see like there's a slight lack of depth in the character models. But I always find those games have the same issue where this isn't so bad, because if you push in R3, it kind of highlights anything on the screen that you can interact with or when exit, which is fine. But you know, sometimes because it's a fixed camera. There was a whole screen I missed because I thought it was part of a roof of a house, but it was actually steps that ran up behind the roof. But because of the viewpoint, I was like, oh, I didn't realise that was there.
This is a fixed viewpoint.
Yeah, and that caused a couple of issues. Just in like the design was like, oh, okay, I can go up there then, I suppose. But it just looks like a roof, so it was a little bit clunky into it.
Yeah. So you're gonna finish this
really
40-hour
warm in
RPG?
I think I will. I'll stick with it until it bugs out, and I think that will happen.
Until it breaks, basically.
And then I'll just read. And then what I'll do is I'll just read the synopsis on the end of Wikipedia and be like, "Oh, you're wicked." I really got the full effect of that.
It really had an impact on me reading about the ending.
So yeah, it's good, but a little bit buggy. So yeah, it's on to you now, Rupert. I'll pass over
a little bit
this
buggy boy.
official. Oh, that was a good game. Is that the one where if you went over like a hump, you went up on 2 wheels for a bit? What a game.
That must have been on the Amstrad.
Yeah,
because I remember playing it. Very,
Spectrum
very
Amstrad. Yeah.
Actually, I don't think I ever played it. Like it was that early that I was too young to even play it.
Was it on? No, it wasn't on the Amiga as well, was it?
Probably was a version on the Amiga. They tended to be.
Yeah.
Right. So I've mostly been playing Astral Chain.
Yeah.
So this is the new one from Platinum Games.
Okie dokie.
Of Bayonetta, Vanquish, Nier.
Vanquish was really good. I like Vanquish.
So there's Nier Automata. Was there or Nier Automata?
I've read it as Automata.
Yeah, I do as well. But it sounds a bit like saying old tomato or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, but then Automata. And what was the other one?
Automata.
Yeah, but that's sort of an automaton thing.
Yeah. Anyway, was there one before that?
So Nier 2. Yeah, it was Nier.
Oh right, so that was Nier 2.
In fact, I got it to hand to put up on the.
You mean college football's national championship 2 is going to be swept aside?
These are the only thing in this room not in order are my PS3 games. So no, sadly I can't just reach for Nier.
It must be nearby.
It's a long life, isn't it? Like my milk.
Yeah, so obviously that means a lot of like melee, quite fluid melee combat. The difference with this though is that the overcomplicated story.
Did you play this on Switch or PS4?
Switch, because it's only on Switch.
Oh. Okay.
Because I think they've got Nintendo obviously got this partial exclusivity deal with Platinum.
Oh, because Bayonetta 2 was on
Bayonetta, yeah. And Bayonetta 3 is going to be Switch exclusive as well. So, but yeah, there's a overcomplicated story, but it's basically a cyberpunk world.
Good.
The world has basically been... Humanity is on the brink of, like, complete annihilation. And there's, like, this one... there's this one kind of place where... It's kind of sanctuary for humanity, which is called the Ark. And that's where all the humans live. There aren't many left. And you play part of the police force called Neuron or something like that. I can't remember. But basically, yeah, there's this kind of other dimension basically where these chimera come from, and they'll come and invade, and like they can infect people and shit like that. So it's that sort of thing. So, but the thing is, like, they've got this kind of onslaught of these chimera, and they don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
However, some of the people in your team, you included, your player character, they have partial control over chimera of their own, sort of thing. So it's almost like a kind of pet, really.
Right. Okay.
Some events early on happen, and you become the only one who can actually control these things. So you kind of basically going around gathering these different. They call them legions because they're like your buddy. So I think so far I must be almost near the end. So I've got like 5 out of the 6 I think there are.
How long would you say the game is?
Apparently it's not as long as many of these sorts of games have been before. I mean, I think it's around 15-20 hours. So it's not
that's good. That's
ridiculously
cool.
long.
That's cool. Yeah.
So yeah, but that's where the weird control system comes into it. So let's put this down for a second because I'm gonna have to feel it with my hands here. So it's weird because you've only got one attack button. So which is strange because basically what you're doing is you're controlling your character with one stick. Your Astral Chain is connected to this second character, this Legion, which is and each Legion has different abilities, but we'll get into that. So using the other stick, you can control the Legion around the screen, and get it into different positions, get it to attack different enemies and stuff. And
this is real-time combat.
This is all real-time combat, so it sounds really overwhelming, and at times it is overwhelming, but you kind of get used to it. So there are certain things. It's almost like a combination. It's almost like a greatest hits, really, of kind of Platinum's previous work. So you've got the kind of fluid, fast-paced combat like Bayonetta, or something like that. You've got some gunplay, like in Nier, and then you've even got a bit of Wonderful 101, which is the one I forgot about, which is also Platinum, which is the one on the Wii U where you're drawing on the screen.
And then there are loads of people.
In order to affect what's happening on the screen in a very basic way. For example, because you're attached to this Legion, you're running around the screen, what you can do, one of the things you can do, for example, is run it around an enemy. And if you get a full circle around them, it'll lock them in place, so you can go over there and...
because the Astral Chain acts as
So and also, if, for example, an enemy is charging at you, so they'll get down to charge, you can quickly get in position, stretch, you go over here, say, get your Legion over here, and it'll run into the Astral Chain, and it'll get caught, and then you can fling it back, sort of thing. So it's all that kind of stuff.
Quite cool.
So it's all the...
Does that open it up for a possible 2-player mode?
There is a co-op mode, but I've never tried it. Apparently it's too manic to possibly really be any good at, but it could be quite fun. But you'd have to know what each other were really thinking at the same time. Because really it is very much designed for single player, because, for example, you can put your Legion behind the enemy, while they're in front of you, hit one of the shoulder buttons, and you'll leap towards your Legion and just charge through them and bash them out of the way, that sort of thing. So you can get some quite intricate stuff going on.
But that sounds really cool, and it sounds quite idiosyncratic as well. I've never heard of that.
It's very odd. It's not the kind of game... I found it's not the kind of game you can just quickly pick up and play. Each time you get back into it, it's oh my god, this is overwhelming.
You need to get into the zone.
You really need to be in the zone. But once you are in the zone, it does feel very natural. And what's cool is that each Legion has genuinely different abilities. You get the basic sword one at the start, but then you get a one that fires arrows, sort of thing. So with that one, you can effectively make it attack from afar and sort of distract them or draw them away or whatever. And then you've got one which is a big bruiser type guy, and you can actually get his special move is that you get inside him, he's a kind of tank thing, you need to smash stuff.
Good.
There's a dog one, which is pretty cool because you can use it just as a mount sort of thing, so you're just running around the place, which is pretty neat, and it digs holes and stuff. Like dogs do. What's the other one? There is, I think I've just got another one. I can't remember what it is, but anyway. So in between, but the thing is, that's just the combat part.
Yeah.
Because it's like a combination Bayonetta style action, but also quite a lot of RPG. I don't want to say RPG elements. Sort of RPG light elements.
Is there a hub town you walk?
There is a hub, and that's the police department, and it's really odd. So you'll go out before you go into certain missions. You'll go out on just sort of on patrol, and you'll just wander around the streets, and you do things like picking up litter and get points for it and stuff, and put it in the bin.
Good.
You get experience points for doing, and helping people out. So they'll say, they'll say something like, "Oh, someone stole my handbag," and it will mention the fact that they're wearing a hat, they've got an orange jacket, and they had earmuffs on or something like that. So you have to go around looking for someone who fits that description. Then use your Astral Chain to trap them and stuff.
This sounds up my street.
it's pretty neat. And there's and also you get these quite full on investigation scenes, like between each of the main kind of like battle parts. You get these kind of investigation things where a murder's happened, whatever, and you'll what you do is you'll be talking to all the people. You're using like a kind of Arkham style like scanner thing,
Right.
to like collect clues about kind of trajectories and stuff like that. Getting all of it's kind of noted down for you. You talk to the people around the area, and sometimes they won't necessarily
This
talk
sounds a
straight
lot like
away.
Murdered Soul Suspect, that aspect.
Yeah. So all the important information she automatically writes down in a notebook.
So it keeps it fluid.
Yeah, so you don't have to literally write everything down.
Yeah.
But then, so in order to get past that, what you do is you'll chat to your superior or whatever, and they'll be saying, right, okay, let's establish what we know about this case, and then you'll start talking, like basically asking you questions about the case, about what's happened, and you kind of choose from the list of your notes what the most appropriate response is.
That sounds really cool.
It's quite basic, but
it sounds
nice.
nice.
What it does do is it keeps you engaged, like in a way that if you'd just been told this, if you'd just gone from person to person and being told, oh, this happened, then this happened, it's like
I
don't care
through because
I don't care
through
anymore. But because you actually have to make some sort of effort to listen to it, then then it kind of makes you a bit more engaged in the story.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is, I mean, the story's fine. It's the usual kind of thing. Yeah, the plot is kind of predictable in a way. With like, a lot of the kind of twists are quite telegraphed and that, but it's fine. I mean, it keeps things moving.
If the game is good, as long as the story keeps you ticking along, it's more the little bits in that, like the murder scenes and the bits in between, and the world building that's more important than like the driving narrative, isn't it?
I like how it's very good natured. There's something like no one dies in it, as in. There's no, like the people you're beating up, no. Like the things you're killing are kind of like almost these
machines things.
Yeah, they're machines, or almost like you spend a lot of time in this kind of alternative chimeric dimension, basically, which is where everything's sort of a bit
good album.
Where everything's sort of all a bit glitchy and a bit Tron-like, so it's like not really real anyway.
Right.
And then all the stuff that you do in the real world with like
it's catching up later.
Pretty much. All the perps and that, whenever you like attack them, beat them up, they're always on the ground like groaning, like with little stars spinning around their head and stuff. So I don't know, it's just quite nice.
Well, you sold it to me, I'm going to be playing that.
There's some really weird humour as well in it, naturally. There's like near the start you get kind of shown around the police station by this woman who just wears like this massive dog suit. It's really odd.
Can you not explain why?
Not really, but it's...
Is it funnier than in that Lego Undercover where...
It's nothing as funny as Lego
That's
Undercover.
probably one of the funniest games I've ever played, Lego
It's
City
so
Undercover.
well in that game. It's not as funny. It's more irreverent and weird. Like, and she's dressed up like, and it's so obviously this woman you've already met, and but she's like pretending like it's not her, sort of thing, and like no one seems to realise that it's just the same person, and you're it's really obvious. And every time she turns up, she's just like the camera will be here and there's clearly no one there, sort of thing. And then like it'll just turn slightly and then she's just there, and your character's like.
So it is actually, it does sound like it's good nature there with a sense of humour.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Because with a name like Astral Chain, when you were explaining how complex the combat was, I just assumed it would be like a real dour Final Fantasy kind of.
No, not really. It's much more silly than that. There's a ghost in the toilet.
What, mine?
It's a locked cubicle, and basically, like some of the collectibles are like toilet paper.
Of course.
You find around the place.
I've seen that.
And so you pick them up, and you can bring them back and give them to this spirit in the toilet for a reward.
Good. See, there's two games you've really liked. This, and there was that other one that I was going to just borrow a few, to be honest. You had a nice Traveller's Tales.
Octopath Traveler?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do need to play that.
That's a good game. That was a very well written game. Yeah, I find with a lot of Japanese games that they can be verbose.
Yes.
And they can be overbearing and overwritten. But what's good about Astral Chain is there are a few cutscenes, but they don't go on. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like there are like 30 seconds and it's done, sort of thing. It's not.
That's one of the things I liked about Attack on Titan 2, because the story, it's a long game, but I said one of the previous episodes that it wasn't. I'm so used to zoning out, basically.
Yeah.
To when it's a load of teenagers looking at the moon and talking and talking and talking, and you think, oh my god,
And finding 5 different ways to say the same thing.
yeah, and everyone is just like a real stereotype. But it's nice to play a game like that where it's just there's like is it brevity?
Yes,
Levity?
there's a certain
Brevity,
brevity, yeah.
To just like
And levity, really.
well, that's what I meant, obviously.
Like
But yeah,
two
just
dogs.
to keep brevity. No, levity. Gravity, you cat.
Yeah, Octopath Traveler got around it by. It was obviously lots of little mini stories. So of course, with that you've got 8 main characters. So you've got, so obviously you've already split the whole thing into 8, which is good. But then on top of that, like each chapter within their story was its own story. So then you've got multiple stories within them. So rather than it being one overarching plot, it was like, okay, here's a bunch of characters trying to get to a destination, having lots of stories on the way. So they're almost bite-sized. So you'd have like an hour would cover a whole story, and then that's it. It's done.
Yeah,
It's almost like it's designed for handheld. Short bursts.
So okay.
So Astral Chain is very good.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I can
no,
understand
that's
why
maybe
people
Twitch.
would be excited about that. Yeah. So
Wait, sorry. One final thing I was going to say. I didn't hear about Astral Chain apart from you in the notes when we were emailing back and forth, just saying I'm looking forward to talk about this. So lots to say about this. In the meantime, over the last week, I've seen people buy a Switch purely for this game, and that's what made me think, oh yeah, this is a bit saucy. I'll have to give that a goosey. So
yeah,
it is really grabbing people.
I think it's their first #1 seller.
Really?
Platinum Games, yeah. So they've obviously done well with it.
Yeah, I suppose like with Vanquish and even like Bayonetta, it's a cult thing, isn't it?
Yes.
The fact this has like just surged to #1. It seems really accessible from what you said as well.
Yeah, well, it's easy. It automatically puts it on casual mode. Between every mission, it says, "Do you want to stay on casual mode?" Of course, yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But it is. I probably will play through it again at some point, like on a high difficulty, because it is absurdly easy, like on casual mode. But I just want to kind of get through it and see the story and stuff. And
Yeah,
just,
that's cool.
It's almost like this is the practice go
For
sort
the
of thing,
full on ultra
because
hard.
it's quite hard to die, even now. But I think that if you boosted it up some levels, then you'd have to use items quite sparingly. And
where you just kind of be
Yeah.
a little bit more careful.
Yeah, so that was Astral Chain, very good, highly recommended. Aggelos is a Metroidvania.
Right. I haven't heard of this.
It's sort of almost somewhere between 8-bit and 16-bit kind of art, but really 16-bit, and
12-bit.
and it's just pretty standard Metroidvania. Really, there isn't really that much to say about it. It's
Switch or
Switch, yeah, and Steam, I guess.
right. So what's the store? What's happening?
It's just you running around the world picking up skills. It's the most kind of generic Metroidvania I think I've ever played. But one thing that does set it apart, so you've got the usual kind of thing of like, okay, so if you can find extra hearts, extra magic things, you can
What's
do
like a medieval sort of?
yeah, that sort of thing, that kind of style, and you can get new skills. You can do like a downward strike. You can do like a dash and stuff like that. You know, you pick up these skills, and the thing is about Metroidvanias is I don't mind if they're generic particularly, because I'll play them anyway because I love
Because
them.
it's a nice genre.
Yeah.
It's a good genre. Yeah.
But it is a genre which does invite
Tedium.
like it does invite the generic in a way, because so many people like me will just lap it up unquestioningly, even though it is totally derivative. And the thing which does set it apart a bit is it does get extremely grindy later on.
When you say set it apart a bit, that to me is a negative.
Yes, sets it apart in a bad
Oh,
way.
right. So,
yeah, no,
'cause
not.
I'm just thinking about the Metroidvanias I've played recently, and that's Time Spinners, which is really good. Not too long ago, Symphony of the Night, which ties in with Time Spinners because they're quite similar. Gata Roboto, which we both really liked, and Shadow Complex, which is I got like in a Humble Bundle years ago. One of the games was in there, and I played it. Boom, 5 hours. I was loving it. Smashed into it because I was completely ready for that. But I haven't played many. There was one called Human Genome, like a Japanese one. I had I bought on PC a few years ago, and it wouldn't run on my PC for some. It would run weird. I had to keep on changing the resolution of the screen. It was really odd. But that was generic and odd because it was indie Japanese thing, bad translation, so it made it kind of funny. But even that was playable because it wasn't labyrinthine. It was kind of relatively. It was quite obvious what you had to do. So, what jumps to mind when you think of good and bad Metroidvanias?
Well, in modern times, I was just going to mention Ori and the Blind Forest because that's coming out on Switch soon.
Right.
Have you played that?
No.
Because that's one of my favourites. Because that's amazing and it's so well done and it's so beautiful.
Was that a PS2 game, or am I thinking of Okami?
It was Microsoft Studios, wasn't it? Which is why it's surprising that it's coming out on Switch.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an incredible game, but that doesn't have the issues that can be present in these sorts of games. I mean, Aggelos had it a bit. Navigation issues being a major part of it, and it has a combination of bad navigation or unclear navigation.
Well, will you pick up something and think, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, and literally getting to the point where it's like, I have literally no idea where in this entire map that I've unlocked I'm meant to be going. But then when you combine that with like respawning enemies and stuff, that's when it gets grindy. Because there's no joy in exploration at that point.
Right.
For me. And it was a problem with especially the early Metroidvanias. The original Metroid is an absolute nightmare.
I've never played it. I jumped in at Super Metroid, so...
Yeah, I mean, you play it without a guide now, and it's just horrendous.
Well, this is the thing. When I think about games that the Metroidvanias I really enjoy, they're sub 8 hours.
Yes.
Because you can keep in your head... Because it's a genre you can't go away from and then come back to the game, because you're totally lost. So
yes.
You can keep in your head where you are and what each sort of different biome, whatever it is. But then when they're long and grindy, it gets boring, and also it gets so complicated. You think, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
But I think this may be part of the joy for some people who enjoy the process of getting lost in the first place and exploring. And I don't want to say grinding because they probably don't see it as grinding, but like when I play something like Hollow Knight, which I hated.
Oh, is that the one with no map?
Yeah, I don't know. It has a map, but you have to go to an unexplored place, find the person who makes the maps, then go...
A cartographer, if you will.
Then buy the ability to have a map off him. Then
ability to have a map.
Yeah. Then go and find somewhere to save the game. At which point it will scribble the map down for you. But then you also have to go. You also have to go back to the hub place and purchase, like the logos that the legend that goes on the map, so you can buy like the ability to mark save points on there.
Is this like map make? Is it a map making game? Was that just a bit of it?
It is. What it is
crap.
And on what they could have had was just like, right, you explore. When you save, it'll fill in the map for you. There you go. But they decided for some reason, clearly that was how it was originally designed, but they decided for some reason to add this challenge of having it really awkward to just fill in a map.
And
so
is the game just really
like
overblown as well, so you can't just keep thinking
there's absolutely no guidance whatsoever. But when I read about like what people like about Hollow Knight, these are the things that they like about it.
One of our friends, Damon, didn't he say he loved this?
Yes.
Was it Damon? Yes. He was saying how much he loved that. It was amazing.
And I just thought I was baffled by it. And it's so solidly hard as well. That's the other thing. Like you meet, it's like the Dead Cells thing where you meet a boss and you know you're going to die the first time. Definitely, 100%. But you also know that when you die, you're going to have to go back like to your last save point And
Which could be 20 minutes away.
And if you didn't happen to find one nearby before the gate locked behind you, or whatever.
Oh, so you kind of wander into the bosses.
Oh yeah.
Like,
There's no indication there's going to be there, so you have to. Yeah. It's a classic annoying Metroidvania thing where it's like, okay, if I go left, it could be a save point or it could be a boss. If I go right, it could be a save point or it could be a boss. I have no idea no way of knowing. So.
Whereas if there was some sort of indication,
Yeah.
it would instantly make the game better.
Yes.
Because you think, all right. Because if you think, no, I'm going to chance it, I want the challenge, I'm not going to sit and go with the boss, power to you.
Yeah.
But if you think, oh, do you know what, I'm not trudging through 15 minutes worth of enemies and traps that I've just done,
yeah,
I'll save. I don't know why, it reminds me of when I was booting up The Legend of Grimrock a few years ago, and it was like, oh, do you want to play on normal mode or hard mode? Hard mode, by the way, you have to buy your own graph paper or print off graph paper and like colour in the grid yourself. And I thought, oh no, I'm not doing that. Why would I want to do that? Where would I get graph paper from? I'll just pop the Churchills. No, I'll just nip down Hobbycraft because I want to play a PC game.
You just get popped down John Menzies.
But the thing is, I can see people who get hip steep and they're like, oh, yeah, I like the idea of doing that. But I don't see why these games can't be split into two camps.
Yes.
I don't see why, like, with Dark Souls and with all that kind of whole genre of gaming, why they don't just say, right, nothing respawns, boom. And it would it would open it up to, like, I would say 20-30% more people would be more interested in it.
Yeah, or like, well, I mean, the trouble with something like, at least with Dark Souls or something like that is the key
Feature?
selling point, isn't it? Like,
The difficulty.
So you know what you're getting into. With Hollow Knight, I'm quite experienced with Metroidvanias, but so I'm thinking, oh, this is good, this is unique. I don't even mind exploring and being a bit lost, but having these really awkward hurdles to get across, awkward, expensive hurdles, because it's all this kind of weird gameplay loop. So all these things are kept behind a paywall, basically. In order to get these normal features that you normally get in a game, you have to pay money. When you die, you lose all your money because it flies out of you. So you have to go back down to where you were, wherever it is in the map, and fight your ghost in order to get your money back.
Like in real life.
Fine, that's fine. However, of course, if you haven't got a map, if you died in a place where which you hadn't mapped yet,
and you were like bumbling through blindly,
so you'll go back to whatever save point it is over in this part of the map. Your ghost will just be shown in a black space down here somewhere. You've got to fight your way all the way back down there, and of course, if you die on the way, then
that's gone. You got to get that.
Yeah, then that money's gone. So that money you would have spent mapping that place. I mean, this is the gameplay loop we're talking about here.
No. Instantly, I know that it's a game I'll play and just get infuriated with and stop.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Anyway, so that's a game which takes the worst impulses of Metroidvania games and
focuses on them.
Makes them a gameplay feature. And can't find them out.
It doesn't grab me. That kind of thing just doesn't. I just think I haven't got the time anymore or the inclination to just do I think it's just the repetition. I think it's just I think when I've done something in a game, I've like proved my skill. I've done that bit, so I'm done with that bit now. I don't like in Metroidvanias. It's a kind of a key thing that enemies respawn. You go off the screen, you come back on, and they're there, and that's fine because usually by that point you're so powered up because the game's well designed. You can just chew through everything, and that's not so bad. Or you can just avoid them because you're so skillful then. But when it's just everything is a grind, and it never stops being a grind, it never starts being enjoyable to me.
No, that's the thing. Yeah. So, yeah, that was. But I mean, Aggelos has got to the point anyway now where it's very difficult. But yeah, so I don't think I'm ever going to quite finish it.
You're never going to.
I don't care enough to just overcome that.
Because it's so generic, why should it be challenging?
Exactly, it's so generic. I mean, Gato Roboto was quite generic as well. But it was charming and about 3 hours long, that was different.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. And it was generic, but the music was bouncy and it was just...
the music in Aggelos is awful.
Oh, really?
So bad.
What is it? What was the one?
It's chiptune type thing, but just
Looped and short.
Not even that looped. It's just abrasive. Just sounds bad. It's just got bad melodies.
Was it? I think I mentioned. Is it that Alien Mutant Space Assault? That like simple game I talked about in the last episode. I think I'm just turning the sound off because it just sounded like it just sounded like a glitched PC. I just muted it because it was so bad.
Did it sound like PC speaker?
Yeah, I had to get the IRQ lined up obviously for it to work.
Politically correct speaker, obviously. No.
So what would you say? Because we've got 2 minutes left. That's the good thing about doing this camera at times. Game of the week is clearly going to be Astral Chain.
For me, it would be Astral Chain.
Even though I haven't played it, I'm going to do it. So Astral Chain, I would agree with you just from what you said of it being Game of the Week. But
yeah,
I'd do an honourable mention for Ittle Dew because it was really good fun. Millennium One Hero was really tasty. Heave Ho was a great part of the game.
Yes.
For me, what was...
There weren't any bad ones, really.
No, not really.
Decay of Logos was...
Yeah, it just wasn't for me more than anything else. I would say Heave Ho because whenever you're playing a game that makes people just really laugh and have fun.
It does sound... It's got a bit of the snipper clips about it. Like when you were saying about how it makes you shout ridiculous things. Yeah. The snipper clips, you're like, cut my face, make me into a bowl! And it's like, if anyone's outside the room, it's like, what can they possibly be doing? There's nothing they can be doing which makes sense.
So is there anything that you want to say in the last 20 seconds?
Not really. That dark fruit cider was excellent, though. I will mention that.
Isn't it? It's not too sweet, that's the key thing.
Yeah, that is.
And it's hot. I knew it would be hot in this room because we're here, so yeah.
And because it's a warm day.
Here we go.